Today is Tuesday, November 19th, 2018. It is now 6 p.m. My name is John Lake, Supervisor with the DEM Division of Marine Fisheries. I'm here tonight to officiate this hearing regarding the proposed amendments to Rhode Island Marine Fisheries regulations on behalf of DEM Director Janet L. Coit. With me today from the Division of Marine Fisheries are Nicole Costa, Scott Olszewski, Jason McNamee, Nicole Ayers, Peter Duhamel, and DEM Legal Counsel Christina Hoshman. Tonight's hearing concerns Rhode Island Marine Fisheries Regulation Part 3, Finfish, concerning 5 separate hearing items which were publicly noticed on October 19th pursuant to the procedural requirements of Rhode Island General Law, Chapter 42-35, Administrative Procedures, and the Office of Rhode Island Secretary of the State under the authority of the Rhode Island Law, Chapters 42-17.1. Pursuant to the Administrative Procedures Act, annotated regulations showing proposed changes have been filed with the Secretary of State's office at the time of noticing, and which are provided on both the Secretary of State and Division's webpage. Interested persons are strongly encouraged to review these documents to fully understand the proposals brought forward here tonight. The purpose of this hearing is to afford interested parties an opportunity to submit data, opinions, and/or arguments concerning the proposed rulemaking, or how such proposed actions could be changed to minimize the impact on those affected while still achieving the required goals. This hearing is not a forum for discussing, debating, arguing, or otherwise having any dialogue. Please limit any questions to clarifying questions only. For tonight's hearing, the division will provide a PowerPoint presentation summarizing each of the proposals. Again, you are encouraged to review the annotated regulations and the public notice. For each hearing item, the following process will be observed. The chair, that's myself, will recognize the speakers. No more than 5 minutes will be allowed for a presentation or comments. When you are recognized, please clearly identify yourself by name and affiliation, if any. Provide your comments. If desired, provide a written copy of your statement. If comments are extensive, it is strongly encouraged that the comments be provided in writing in order to assure that the record is clear. The public comment period will conclude at 4 p.m. on Monday, December 3rd. The record of this public hearing and comments will be provided to the Rhode Island Marine Fisheries Council for consideration at its meeting on December 3rd, at which time the Council will provide a recommendation to the Director on each item. The Director has an option to either file the rules and regulations with the Secretary of State as is, file the rules and regulations with minor changes, or make additional amendments to the rules and regulations and hold a new public hearing. If filed, these rules and regulations become effective 20 days after the filing and have the effect of law. Prior to hearing comments, the following exhibits are noted for the record. Exhibit 1 is a copy of the public notice and annotated regulations that were filed with the Secretary of State on October 19th. Exhibit 2 is a written comment submitted concerning commercial management of black sea bass, summer flounder, and tautog. Exhibit 3 is a written comment concerning commercial management of scup, black sea bass, and tautog. Number 4 is a written comment concerning commercial management of black sea bass and summer flounder. Exhibit 5 is a petition regarding commercial management of black sea bass and summer flounder. Okay, let's begin. So the 5 items up for comment tonight are the 2019 Commercial Black Sea Bass Management, 2019 Commercial Scup Management, 2019 Commercial Summer Flounder Management, 2019 Recreational Tautog Management, and 2019 Commercial Tautog Management. First item up is Commercial Black Sea Bass. There are 2 options. Option 1 is status quo. Option 2 is to amend the starting possession limit from 50 pounds a day to 25 pounds a day during the July sub-period. I'll take any comments. Yes?
Why do we do that?
These are just comments either for or in support of or against them. We are not really going into the division's take on that. That's what we do at the workshop. So.
Well, just not familiar with what problem we're trying to solve. What's the goal?
Sure. So the goal with a lot of our commercial management is to maximize our quota. And that's what, and depending on who you are, that means different things to different people. Yes.
I'd like to speak against the potential change of the and go with the status quo for the reasons 25 pounds is starting to get towards a break-even sort of situation for a commercial fisherman if you take into consideration bait, fuel, vessel maintenance, gear maintenance, and so on. It's, at a level where the profit margin is not even there. Also, I think with 25 pounds, you're going to start getting into Massachusetts opening, which is, you might as well not even open up while Massachusetts is open due to the price falls so far. That's going to stretch it out, and we're going to enter into their opening. That's the two primary reasons. Yeah.
So what was your name?
Steve Parenti.
Thank you.
Any other comments on commercial black sea bass? Yep.
Yes, I agree with him. You can't make money on 25 pounds a day, especially that time of year when Mass does open. The price is, it's hard enough to make any kind of profit on 50 pounds a day. You might as well not even have it open if you're going to set the limit that low.
Gotcha. I didn't get your name either.
James Perkins.
There you
Joe
go.
McCary, commercial fisherman. I think just to expand on that, I think that the reason they said 25 pounds was during that time of the season, it's considered, it might be a bycatch for fluke fishing. So it would add to your daily take of, as far as your daily money from the fluke and the sea bass. I think that's why they set that up with that option too. And I think Massachusetts opens in about August 8th, and usually the price is sky high for about the first 2 weeks of August.
Go back.
I was going to say, actually, it opens around, been opening around the 11th the last couple of years.
Of August?
No, of July in Massachusetts.
I think it was August, wasn't it?
No,
Okay.
no, it's been July though. Used to be August, but
Okay.
and I believe in August it's closed automatically closed, or it has been the last few years.
Why?
So
Yeah, sea bass is closed August 1st
to the
through September 14th.
regardless of the
Okay,
quota.
right. But I think that's why they did that, was for a bycatch thing.
Good, Steve.
Well, I don't follow that. If you're fluking and it's 50 pounds of sea bass, you still have the bycatch, or you just have 50 pounds of bycatch. And if it's 25 pounds, you only have 25 pounds of bycatch. So it's bycatch regardless, and you will have the option of saving your sea bass when you're fluking regardless also. And whether it be 50 or 25.
I'm gonna go here and then over there.
Dave Blackburn, Rhode Island Commercial Rod and Reel. Part of the rationale from our perspective for the 25 pounds per day was that it would be very difficult on average for most rod and reel fishermen to fulfill the fluke quota and 50-pound limit and 50-pound limit on sea bass in one day. So the 25 pounds per day becomes an enhancement economically for somebody who's targeting fluke, which sometimes can be marginal in terms of its economic result. It can, conversely, to a different group who's fishing a different gear method and perhaps can more easily achieve both quotas per day. For most rod and reel fishermen, that 50 pounds per day of fluke consumes typically most of the day, and if you can add 25 pounds of black sea bass out of that, now it becomes a reasonably profitable day. So it's truly a matter of perspective in which fishery gear type you're participating in my opinion. And as a result of that, my preference, and I think the preference of our group, would in the majority be for option 2, which was discussed and argued at the workshops.
Thank you. Over here.
Hi, Ethan Wright, Brown University in the town dock. So I think one thing that needs to be taken into account is bycatch mortality. So when the season is open, methods such as gill netters are going to be targeting black sea bass and setting in the areas where they are populous, and they're going to catch on average way more than 25 pounds. And the bycatch mortality with rod and reel is about 8%, and with gill net it's well over 20% bycatch mortality. And all those fish that are discarded are not factored into the quota. And so I feel like protecting both protecting the species as well as minimizing needless bycatch mortality, and thus essentially wasting fish that could be sent to market and put on a dinner plate does not bode well with the logistical limitations of certain tier methods such as gill net.
Thank you. Over here.
Ken Mergo, I hold a Rhode Island multi-purpose license, fish predominantly pots and traps. I support option 1. I'm against the 25 pounds, is just not enough to be economical.
All right, any more comments on commercial black sea bass?
I got one more comment. My name is Tom Oxford. I got a fishing boat down in Galilee. So if you're gonna go into the aspect of having closed fishing days as well, those folks that are out there fluke fishing and sea bass fishing collectively together on the same days the seasons are quotas open. If you're gonna close fluke on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and leave sea bass open, and leave sea bass open on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, you add to the impact gentleman over here mentioned, it does make it economically viable to go out. You know, my footprint, but when I leave the dock, when I get to where I'm fishing my pots, and when I get back, I'm gonna go blow the same amount of fuel and fish the same amount of pots. I mean, I'm down to fishing 4 pots to get 50 pounds, so I'm gonna go fish the 4 pots to get 25 of them and pay them up. So bait and fuel is gonna be the same. Going to increase the cost of doing business and then be into profit. So option 1 is the desired option for my take.
All right, seeing no other comments, let me go on to, go ahead.
Clarifying question, did you, I don't know, a little late, did you address the proposal to add closed days to sea bass?
We don't have a proposal for closing any days on sea bass.
There's a written one that I know was signed by quite a few people.
We did recognize that as an exhibit, the petition, yeah.
Okay. Can I just add a comment that I would be against closed days for sea bass?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
I have a question. So you said you did have a proposal for closed days of sea bass.
It was an exhibit, it was a petition that we just received today, so we're not going through it tonight.
Okay. Are you going to go through it at a future time?
It's just another record for the council and for the director to consider.
So it's in the public hearing, it'll definitely go in the council package, you know, it'll be publicly available when it goes into the council package.
Okay, so is this our opportunity to speak to that, or is there going to be a future opportunity to speak to that? In other words, okay, right now we're talking about the 25 pound per day. Are we going to talk, or is there going to be public comment on the closed day proposal or exhibit?
Go ahead, Jay.
So you can certainly make a comment on that tonight,
this time.
because now that you know about it, you can speak to it. The other opportunity would be at the council meeting itself, if that came out as proposal from a council member, there could be public discussion at that point as well.
And you said that was December 3rd? Is that correct?
December 3rd, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a nice way to spend my birthday.
Excuse me, is that proposal that's been, proposed there, to go close sea bass on the same day as the food scopes? Can you share that? What is that?
We just got this today.
Oh,
We
I-
haven't vetted it, we haven't gone through it, so yeah, it's just a public comment, right, at this point.
So should I comment on that? I would like to comment on that. That was a disaster, that Friday closing, last time we did that. And, I would strongly speak against it. And in fact, my, fish dealer sent in a VTR for my Saturday landings, stating it was Friday on the VTR, and I had a lot of trouble over that. That's one thing that can go wrong, and it was unnecessary. We fish, I've said this a few times, commercial fishermen in April, May, June, July, we fish every day. This is a new thing. This is an anomaly that we've never done in the history of fishing in New England. And it's a pain in the neck, and I strongly speak against it. Thank you, Steve Parenti, Secana County.
Okay, anything else for commercial sea bass? All right, moving on. The next item for consideration is commercial scup management. There are two proposals here. The first proposal is for the management program, the quota periods. There's only one option that we have noticed, and that is status quo. Any comments on commercial scup? All right, seeing none, let's move. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Steve.
I said this before too, but I think that your estimates of the biomass of the scup are way, way high for what the reality is. I think 50,000 pounds a day is a recipe for disaster also. That is the type of landings that will guarantee that we will have very few scup, and we will be in a rebuilding program in coming years. That's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Any more for commercial scup? So the second is the second proposal we have noticed for commercial scup, and this was an industry proposal, and this was to amend the maximum scup pot limit. Option 1 is to remove the maximum pot limit of 50 pots. Option 2 is to increase the maximum pot limit from 50 to 300 pots. Any comments on proposal 2? Go ahead, Ken.
Ken Margo. I support option 1. I believe the weekly quota is enough to manage the fishery.
Any other comments? Over here.
So, as it exists in, as it takes place in Point Judith, there are no vendors, no commercial fishermen that come near the 50 pot limit. The largest scup trapping operation, scup potting operation, employs 32 pots that sells the product to the Tautog. And the primary method of catch is dragging. And I feel as though the 300 pot limit would have little effect on managing the species. And it's almost without effect.
Anyone else on proposal 2? All right, so the next item up for consideration and comment is the commercial summer flounder management program. These are the quota periods. We have option 1, which is right here, which is status quo. This is what we did this year. Thing to point out here are the days closed are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Option 2 is to reopen on Sundays during the summer sub period. And just to go into a little detail here, something that came out of the workshop that we had last month was for us to go and examine what effect opening Sunday might have on the fisheries. So to the best of our ability, we have accomplished that analysis. We determined that during the summer of 2018, the catch rate for commercial summer flounder was approximately 4,000 pounds per day. This allowed us to stay open all 79 days of the summer sub period. There was no early closure. If an assumption is made that the 2019 quota increases by 15%, that would allow us enough fish to give us approximately 99 days of fishing at that 4,000 pound per day rate, so that 2018 average. If we were to add Sundays into the mix and have them open, that would, for 2019, that would add 20 days to the season. So in the case of 2018, it was 79 days. 2019 would be 99 days. And as you can see, that matches up almost exactly with what the increase in quota would give us. So any increase in the 2019 harvest rate might result in an early closure. We don't know. We're opening up a weekend day here. As you can see, having them come right about on the same lines means it would be tight for summer flounder. I'll take any comments.
Yeah, I'd like to speak on support of Amendment 2, because I think the 3 closed days was just too much last year, and that it seemed unnecessary, considering the quota barely got caught up at the end, and that you actually had to increase the daily limit at the end. And I think we'd be better off just taking a chance of it closing early to get more days in during the season.
I'll go here and then here.
Tom, again, I got a comment. You may want to consider opening up on Fridays instead of Sundays. A lot of the folks that are out there fishing have families with quality of life into it, but Sundays, Saturdays, and Sundays is days you spend with your family. If you're going to close the day, you might as well leave it closed on the weekend where you can spend time with your family.
Yeah, you want to go here and then back up here?
Yeah, I like the proposal number 2, to open it an extra day. You might want to check with the dealers, because they might either want Friday or Sunday. The last time they wanted Sundays to sell the fish. As long as you can get 15% quota, I'm in approval of this. If you can't get it, I just want it the same as last year.
I didn't get your name.
Bill Allen.
Bill, thanks.
Yeah, Joe McCary, commercial fishery. I'm for either day. I mean, it doesn't matter to me, just as long as we get that extra day, either a Friday or a Sunday. And, if it's based on what the dealers would prefer, as far as monetarily, we would go that way.
I'm gonna go here, there, and then.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I like the idea of having it open on Friday instead of Sunday, but I don't care too much as long as we get the extra day.
Over here.
So from the dealer's perspective, fish that comes in Friday after the morning truck from a wholesale dealer that sells to the New York market, we hold fish from Friday until Sunday. So although it's not from a management perspective, from the seafood industry's perspective, it would be better. Sunday would be better for the freshness of fish and the shelf life there.
Steve?
I agree with pretty much what everybody's saying, and the day doesn't matter to me either, except for whatever. I think you should consult the fish dealers and see which day they favor. Either one's fine. Other than that, whatever's marketable, better marketable.
Do we know we're gonna get the 15%, or is this a guessing?
It's an assumption, however, my understanding
Or is it the other states gonna take, New York and New Jersey gonna take our quota?
That I'm not aware of. This is an assumption that we feel pretty good about, but it is an assumption.
So if we don't get to 15%, this option 2 is out the door with the extra day, right?
It would be something to consider in the decision making. Yeah.
Because the whole purpose of this is to keep the fishing open as long as possible and to get the best amount of money for the fish. If it closes early like the year before, you lose 2 or 3 weeks. It's like the sea bass. The same thing. Once it's closed, it's closed. I mean, you have it closed in August and you have it closed, I mean, you have it open in January and February. I don't know, do they get $6 a pound for jumbos in January and February, or is it all North Carolina fish? I thought sea bass was a summer fish, not a winter fish. I'm just saying, you know, some of your allocations on this are so old. You know, you based stuff 4 or 5 years ago. The sea bass situation has changed yearly. The fluke has changed yearly. So, I mean, some of your allocations I really don't agree with because they're not based on true facts of what the fishing is now. Because there's not enough fish, you know, for every user group. But the best thing to do is to get the most amount of money for the fish that you do catch. If you can get $6 for sea bass in July and August, you know, 25 pounds of sea bass is better than nothing when it's closed. That's all I'm saying. That's my opinion.
I think that there'd probably be general consensus by all groups that that there's a pretty much overwhelming support for option 2, and it doesn't seem like Friday or Sunday, it doesn't really matter that much. If it's better for the dealers Sunday, then everybody seems amenable to that. But the caveat here that I think is important and that everybody would support is that extra day is only favored under the provision that 15% actually becomes reality. Otherwise, we'd be closing at the end of July here.
Thank you. Any other comments for commercial summer flounder? All right. Let's move on to recreational tautog management. Right now, we only have one option noticed, and that is status quo. Any comments on recreational tautog? All right. Seeing none, let's move on to commercial tautog. So we actually, once again, we have 2 proposals here. One is the management program and one is a tagging program. First off, we'll consider the management program. There are 2 options here. Option 1 is status quo. Option 2 is to remove the summer sub period and split that allocation 50-50 between the spring and the fall sub periods. Any comments on commercial tautog management? With Steve and Ken.
I like option 2 for personal selfish reasons. Your spear gun fishermen are not going to like it. They're the guys that I noticed use the August 1st through September 15th. But we mostly work on them during the option 2 periods. So anyway, I vote for option 2 if everybody else agrees with it. But I know the spear gunners are not going to like it.
Thank you. Over here.
Ken Margot, commercial fisherman. I have nothing to do with spear guns. I support option 1, status quo. I'm pretty strongly against option 2. As somebody who only holds Rhode Island multi-purpose and fishes exclusively in state waters, in trying to build a year-round business, I really focused on fishing for all different species available to me. During the time of the summer sub-period, August 1st, September 15th, things can be pretty slow other than scup trapping, which can be good, but you're very much at the mercy of the market. A lot of times the price is low, especially with the high quota the last couple of years, and those 10 much higher value tautog can really help make my day for a lot of August when I'm out there scup potting. Crabs and lobsters are offshore already. Whelks are in their spawning season and not potting. And sea bass is closed. So I'm left with fish for tautog and scup for pretty much all of August, first half of September. And even with it only has 20% of the quota, and you actually lose the previous year's overage from that. So you're gaining single-digit quota in each of the spring and the fall. And with the high catch rates that time of year, you're only going to gain a few days on each of those seasons, whereas you're giving up, I think it was open for the entire 45 days this past year. So you're going to give up 45 days with the tautog being open to gain a handful on either end of the spring and the fall. And I don't think it's worth it. So for that reason, I'm against option 2.
I'm gonna go over here and then I'll go up here. Did you want? Oh, sorry, I thought I saw you again. Go in the middle.
Is it still gonna have all the overages come off the summer period next year?
There's no change.
It's the same?
The same management rules will apply to the tautog as far as the overage is correct.
Yeah, then I think I'd support option 1, because you don't catch a lot, but it can make a difference. But as long as none of the overages come off of the spring or fall sub periods, I support option 1.
Any other comments for commercial tautog? Proposal 1. All right, let's move on to proposal 2. Okay, so this is the proposed adoption of a tautog commercial fish tagging program. I'll just go through the main points quickly. It's highly recommended you look at the annotated regulations, especially for any questions about the administration of the program. So the main points are that all commercially harvested tautog in Rhode Island will be tagged at the time of harvest by the harvester. Tags will be affixed to the left opercular bone with the tag number displayed. Tags will be issued to the Rhode Island commercially licensed fishermen eligible to participate in the fishery. Tags are valid for 1 calendar year. New tags are required each year. Unused tags must be returned, and a failure to return the tags and/or reports may result in the harvester's inability to participate in the commercial tautog fishery in the future. These rules would take place January 1st, 2020, so not next year, the year after. And an ordering form and processes will be developed. Any comments on commercial tautog tagging?
Was this proposed by the Department of Environmental Management?
This actually came out of the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission.
And they can't mandate it? The director has to okay this?
It is in their fishery management plan. However, it is up to all the states to implement the rules that they put out in their fishery management plans.
Do you anticipate, in other words, they're not the Fed that's in New England? Is that correct?
Sorry?
The folks who propose this, I know when the lobster allocation thing went down, I think a lot of the states were worried about not receiving federal money and so on if they didn't go along with it. Do you think this is the same sort of situation?
Well, not implementing something that comes out of a fishery management plan could result in Rhode Island being found out of compliance, and there are several things that the government can do after that. One, the most extreme of which would be to close the fishery. So.
Okay. So is this a moot point? I mean, they're going to go along with it anyway, or what?
Well, it is up to us to implement the regulation. That's why we're taking comments on it. So.
Well, we have a lot of tags already. That's my only comment. And it's not that easy to negotiate the tag thing. You have to do your lobster tags, you have to do your gill net tags now, your lobster pot tags. Let's see, I guess that's all the tags.
Dealer's
Anyway,
tags,
one more
shrinkage.
set of tags to try to, return. We got to figure out where we're going to pick them up, where we're going to return them, who we're going to mail to, how much they're going to cost, like all the other tags. I don't think it's a great thing, but and what's the purpose again? So that sort of like, we got the striped bass tags. Are they sort of like the striped bass tags? They're worried about fish not being counted or something like that.
They're similar to the striped bass tags, the big difference being the harvester puts them on the fish.
Well, I don't personally need any more tags, but I'm sure it's gonna go whichever way it's gonna go anyway, but I don't really like it too much.
Over here.
Tom, I forget, who's gonna pay for the tags?
We're still working out the ordering form and the process to be determined right now. Yes.
Hi, Ethan Reitman. So one major difference between the striper tagging and this proposed blackfish tagging is fishermen choose to sell blackfish alive because their profit margin is much higher. You make about 50% more on a live tautog than you do on a dead tautog. And tagging, if anyone has ever held live blackfish, tagging a live tautog is not entirely easy. Furthermore, when you sell a blackfish live, they go immediately into a tank. And if the wholesale dealer is responsible for reading that tag, the logistic limitations of having a live tagged fish continue. And what happens is a live tank truck then arrives and takes that live fish to market, where a restaurant buys that fish live and then is chosen live by customers to be. So I don't understand where this tag is going to be tracked and how many people in this process will be holding and reading the tag on a live blackfish. So I'm a bit confused as to how this seems logical, and why are the fishermen only tagging commercial tautog harvested? If it's a management move, why aren't they? There are plenty of short caught daily during tautog season, and if we're looking to track size as done with live tagging methods, I don't understand why that's not being pursued or investigated. So I'd like to raise the logistical limitations of tagging live fish that are never going to be subject to inspection at any point of their lifetime, and that often end up in a almost black market of live fish in New York.
Over here.
Ken Mergo. I just like to second that. I think it is going to be very difficult to tag a live tautog. Can barely handle them trying to move it from a trap to a tank of water. May as well hold it still enough to put a tag in its cheek. So I think that's going to be more difficult than expected.
All right, any other comments on proposal 2, commercial tautog tag in the middle?
Is there really gonna be any choice? I mean, or is this just
No.
something we're pretty much stuck with as far as having to tag them pretty much? There's no getting out of it, I see. But
That I don't know.
yeah, but I'd like to say, like, if you are gonna implement this, I'd like to see them make an effort to make sure that everybody's aware, that Fishes Forum is aware that this regulation is going into effect. Because like I found with previous tagging programs, like I didn't know that laws had been implemented and ended up with legal problems over it. Because I didn't read through like 20 pages of regulations and all this to find out the law had been put in place. So I didn't know the law existed, so I'd like to, like maybe something on the homepage for DEM letting people know that this is coming into effect.
One last related comment. So one inside industry detail that may not be known by regulators is there's a preferred size range of blackfish. And so if we tag each individual fish, and then we have a quota, and we use this information to deduce the average size of a blackfish caught, it will not be accurate because blackfish sold live are wanted to be within 3 and 5 pounds. And so fishermen discard fish. They release fish that are above that because there's no marketability for them live. They'll make more catching a 5-pound tog and selling live than they will catching a 10-pound tog and selling dead. So shifting baselines by tagging fish sold live with the marketability constraint is not feasible in this case.
Thank you. Any other comments? So that's the ends of our slide, and since there are no further comments to be presented at this time, on behalf of the Department of Environmental Management, I would like to thank you for attending and your comments. At this time, I declare this public hearing to be closed. Please be reminded that the public comment period will conclude at 4 p.m. on Monday, December 3rd, and the Rhode Island Marine Fisheries Council meeting will take place that same evening at 6 o'clock p.m. Thanks for coming, guys.